According to local legends, those giants were able to travel the entire length of the island without seeing the light of day.
The ocean is vast, mysterious, and filled with more secrets than we can comprehend. Covering over 70% of our planet, it's a world we've barely begun to explore. While humans aren't exactly built for deep-sea adventures, we've still managed to catch glimpses of some truly terrifying creatures lurking below. From 10-foot worms to manta rays the size of a jumbo jet, here are the most terrifying monsters found in the deep sea. Number 20. 10-foot Bobbit Worm. Imagine the Mongolian death worm mixed with Tremor's graboids, the bugs from Starship Troopers, and a rainbow. That's the Bobbit Worm for you, a nightmare lurking in warmer oceans around the globe. This bizarre predator buries itself in sediment, leaving only its wide-open jaws and 5 antennae sticking out. These antennae act like tripwires, waiting for an unsuspecting fish to brush past. If that happens, the fish has mere milliseconds to escape, though it rarely does. The Bobbit Worm's scissor-like jaws strike with incredible speed, sometimes slicing its prey clean in two. To make things even scarier, it injects its victims with a toxin that helps break down the meal for easier digestion. It's not just a worm, it's a living weapon. And about the name? Well, it's a bit of a mystery. Some say it's linked to John and Lorena Bobbit, whose infamous story involves, let's just say, an unplanned amputation. Supposedly, an underwater photographer found the worm's brutal hunting technique eerily similar to Lorena's actions. However, marine biologists admit the exact origin of the name remains unclear. Either way, the Bobbit Worm is proof that nature's imagination is as fascinating as it is terrifying. Number 19. Floating Spaghetti Monster. This underwater sea monster looks like an upside-down bowl of noodles, and it's as bizarre as it sounds. Researchers identified it as a siphonophore, a creature related to corals and jellyfish. But here's the wild part. It's not a single animal. Instead, it's a colony made up of thousands of tiny organisms called zooids. Zooids are like regular animals, except they're all connected and work together as one. It all starts with one zooid, which develops from a fertilized egg. Then, more zooids bud off and join the team, forming a spaghetti-like colony that acts as a single organism. Some parts of the colony focus on eating, others on moving, and some even take care of reproduction. Talk about teamwork. These creatures can look a lot like jellyfish, but their noodle-like appearance earned this one a fun nickname, the Flying Spaghetti Monster. It was spotted by oil workers using a remotely operated vehicle, ROV, about 4,000 feet underwater. The footage went viral online because, let's face it, who wouldn't be intrigued by a spaghetti monster swimming in the deep sea? Nature never runs out of surprises, does it? Number 18. The Megamouth Shark. The Megamouth Shark is a rare and mysterious deep-sea creature that causes a buzz whenever it's caught on camera. Scientists are captivated by its unique features, but much about its behavior and how it uses those traits remains a mystery. Its name, Megamouth, comes from its enormous mouth and jaw. On a shark around 16 feet long, the mouth alone measures about 4 feet wide. You could practically swim into it. Despite its size, the megamouth is actually the smallest of the 3 filter-feeding sharks, coming in behind the whale shark and basking shark. This elusive shark has only been seen in the wild a handful of times, with fewer than 60 individuals documented by scientists. It's believed to be diurnal, meaning it's active during the day, and it regularly moves between shallow and deep waters, primarily around Taiwan and Japan. However, megamouths have also been spotted traveling across the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. The species was first discovered in 1976 near Oahu, Hawaii, when a U.S. Navy research vessel accidentally tangled one in its cables. Since then, the megamouth has remained a deep-sea enigma, rarely seen but always intriguing. Number 17. Giant Tubeworms. Giant tubeworms were discovered in 1977 during a deep-sea expedition, but their discovery was a complete surprise. The mission was focused on studying hydrothermal vents, and no biologists were on board. As it turned out, many species living near these vents had never been seen before, including these incredible worms. Living near hydrothermal vents isn't easy. These areas are under crushing pressure, freezing temperatures, and total darkness. On top of that, the vents spew superheated water loaded with toxic chemicals. But giant tubeworms? They thrive here like it's no big deal. Their most striking feature is their bright red plume. This organ exchanges oxygen, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen sulfide with the surrounding seawater. While these worms don't have eyes, they can still sense movement and vibrations. If they feel threatened, they retreat into their tough protective tubes. Here's the wildest part. They grow incredibly fast under these harsh conditions. They can colonize a new vent, reach sexual maturity, and grow up to 5 feet long, all in under 2 years. Talk about resilience. These worms are a perfect example of life finding a way in the most extreme environments. Number 16. Hagfish Frenzy. Meet the hagfish, also known as the slime eel, though it's not an eel at all. When food is involved, these creatures don't mess around. If a dead animal sinks to the bottom of the sea, hagfish and their pals are usually the first to show up, diving headfirst into the carcass for a feast. Even though they don't have jaws, hagfish use 2 rows of tooth-like structures to burrow into their meal. They can also bite off chunks of food, whether it's carrion or live prey. To add extra power to their bite, they tie their tails into knots, creating torque to tear through flesh. And if that's not wild enough, hagfish can absorb nutrients directly through their skin. These creatures can grow up to 18 inches long and have some truly bizarre traits. Their eyes can't see. They have 4 hearts, up to 15 sets of gills, and can even change gender depending on the season. Despite their feeding frenzy capabilities, hagfish can go months without eating. Their most jaw-dropping feature? Slime. When threatened, hagfish release tons of sticky mucus from glands along their bodies. Once the goo hits seawater, it expands into a slimy mess that clogs the gills of predators, making them almost impossible to swallow. Truly, these slimy survivors are one of nature's weirdest wonders. Now it's time for today's topic. In a groundbreaking discovery, National Geographic divers have documented what might be a new species of manta ray deep in the Pacific Ocean. The team captured incredible footage of the creature, whose wingspan is estimated to be a staggering 170 feet, far larger than any previously known manta ray. Typically, manta rays are among the largest creatures in the ocean, with known species reaching wingspans of up to 31 feet. However, this newly sighted giant has left experts in awe. Its immense size, unique coloration, and deep-sea habitat suggest it could be a product of deep-sea gigantism, a phenomenon where species living in the extreme depths of the ocean grow to extraordinary sizes due to environmental conditions like colder temperatures and reduced predation. Unlike its smaller relatives, this massive manta ray displayed unique markings and moved with an almost otherworldly grace, gliding effortlessly through the deep ocean currents. Researchers are speculating whether this is an undiscovered species or an ancient giant that has evaded detection for centuries. Though the full footage is yet to be released, a single photo has already sparked debates among marine biologists. Could this colossal creature be evidence of the vast mysteries still hidden beneath the ocean's surface? Or simply a rare, oversized individual? The possibilities are as deep as the ocean itself. Number 15. The elusive big fin squid. The big fin squid is one of the deep sea's most otherworldly creatures, resembling something straight out of science fiction. Found about 1.5 miles underwater, it looks eerily similar to the tripod monsters from War of the Worlds. Over the last decade, thanks to remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, more footage of this elusive squid has surfaced, leaving scientists and viewers in awe. Big fin squids are characterized by their huge fins, which make up 90% of their body length, and their ridiculously long, elastic tentacles, measuring up to 26 feet in total. Their tentacles are believed to be 15 to 20 times the length of their body. One of their most striking features is how they hold some arms at a 90-degree angle to their body, giving the impression of having elbows. Despite their striking appearance, little is known about their behavior. Scientists speculate that big fin squids feed by dragging their long arms along the seafloor to snag prey, or by waiting for food to bump into their extended tentacles. They were first discovered in 1907, but the first video footage wasn't captured until 1988 off the coast of Brazil. They remain one of the ocean's most mysterious deep-sea wonders. Number 14. Prosus Worm. You might be in for a shock when you discover the Prosus Worm. It's not because it's dangerous to humans, but more because its appearance and defensive tricks can seriously freak people out. This worm can grow up to 2 meters long and, depending on the species, can look like either a tangled mess of intestines or some weird squirming mass of flesh. There are a lot of different types of Prosus worms, and they can live in both shallow and deep waters. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. One particular species has a bizarre defense mechanism. When threatened, it sprays a milky goo which is actually made from its own guts. Yeah, pretty gross, right? So while these worms aren't exactly out to get you, their strange looks and odd ways of defending themselves can definitely leave you with a sense of unease. It's definitely not the kind of creature you'd expect to come across when you're out exploring the sea. Number 13. Supergiant amphipods. During a deep-sea expedition in the Kermadec Trench off New Zealand's northeast coast, scientists got a rare and exciting surprise. 7 giant crustaceans were hauled up from 4 miles below the surface. These pale, spindly creatures, known as supergiant amphipods, have only been spotted a handful of times in history. Even more intriguing, a seafloor camera placed over a mile away recorded at least 9 more amphipods scuttling around. Why so many of these usually elusive creatures were in the area remains a mystery. A week later, the team returned to the same spot, but the amphipods were gone. Their sudden disappearance only added to the puzzle. Supergiant amphipods were first discovered in 1899 during a trawling expedition in the Atlantic Ocean. After that, they weren't seen for nearly 100 years. In the 1970s, scientists finally photographed them again, this time in the northern Pacific, hundreds of miles north of Hawaii. In 1983, an albatross even coughed one up, though it was in rough shape after its airborne journey. These deep-sea giants remain one of the ocean's many unsolved mysteries, appearing unexpectedly in one part of the world only to vanish just as quickly. Number 12. World's most toxic sea urchin. The most toxic sea urchin isn't the fire urchin, as many might think. It's actually the flower urchin. The scientific name, which translates to toxic foot, is a big red flag for anyone who knows their Latin. The toxins in its spines and small pincer-like organs can cause severe pain, respiratory issues, and even paralysis. What makes the flower urchin particularly sneaky is its venom-filled pedicellariae, which are tiny claw-like structures that can latch onto skin and deliver their venom even after the urchin has been handled or disturbed. These pedicellariae are so sensitive that they can be triggered by the slightest touch or even a nearby shadow. The flower urchin gets its name from its colorful, flower-like appearance. Its body features unusual pinkish-white to yellowish-white colors with a central purple dot. The short, blunt spines are part of what makes it so dangerous. Interestingly, these spines don't just defend, it also uses them to help move across the ocean floor. The rigid shell is typically deep red or gray, but on rare occasions, it can be greenish to light purple. Found in the Indo-West Pacific, the flower urchin is widespread and commonly encountered in coral reefs, seagrass beds, and rocky or sandy environments. It can live at depths of up to 295 feet. As for what it eats, it feeds on algae, biofilm, and other organic material. If you come across one of these spiny creatures, remember to keep your distance. Its sting is painful and can require medical attention. Its reputation as one of the ocean's deadliest urchins is well-earned, so admire it from afar rather than risk an encounter. Number 11. Rat tails. Meet the rat tails. They're small, strange-looking creatures that can give you the creeps. Also known as grenadiers, rat tails are usually between 46 to 65 centimeters long. When they're young, they have a grayish-brown color that gets darker as they grow into adults. These odd creatures live in deep waters between 300 to 3,700 meters off the coasts of the North Pacific, ranging from northern Japan to the Bering Sea and even down to northern Mexico. One of the first things you'll notice about rat tails is their unusual eyes. Since they live where there's no sunlight, they rely on their large, bluish eyes to spot the tiniest bit of light or bioluminescence, which means living light, but their eyes aren't the only way they find food. They also use their sense of touch and smell, especially to locate decaying meat. Rat tails are scavengers, often feeding on rotting matter found on the ocean floor. Even though they live deep in the ocean, rat tails are sometimes caught by deep-sea fishermen. When people see them for the first time, their huge eyes seem so out of place with their tiny bodies that it can be pretty freaky. These creatures may look strange, but they're just another example of life adapting to survive in the deep, dark parts of the sea. Number 10. Titan triggerfish. If you're diving in the Indo-Pacific, keep an eye out for the feisty Titan triggerfish, known for packing a serious bite. These fish are often the reason divers and snorkelers end up with damaged fins, bruises, or even missing bits of skin and ears. Their reputation as underwater troublemakers is well-earned. A key sign you're in for some drama is when the Titan triggerfish rolls onto its side and fixes you with its beady, independently rotating eyes, essentially the aquatic version of an evil eye. If you see its black fin tips raised, consider that your final warning before it charges. While they're only aggressive during the reproduction season or when guarding their nests, their territorial nature has made them infamous among divers. Many seasoned scuba enthusiasts in tropical waters have a Titan triggerfish story to tell, and most involve some level of anxiety and probably a few war wounds. Interestingly, they seem to have a thing for bright colors, so if one gets too close, use your dive fins or another hard object as a shield. Trust us, better to sacrifice your gear than end up with a triggerfish-sized problem on your body. When in their waters, it's always best to respect their space and keep your distance. Number 9. Faceless cusk eel. Deep below the ocean surface, among meat-eating sponges, zombie worms, and toothy dragonfish, scientists stumbled upon something truly bizarre, a fish without a face. Australian researchers nicknamed it the faceless cusk, and it's as strange as it sounds. This elusive creature was found about 13,000 feet down, where the seafloor is cold, barren, and pitch dark, just 34 degrees Fahrenheit. While it's rarely seen, it's widely distributed, popping up in places like the Arabian Sea and Hawaii. Oddly enough, it was first discovered back in 1874 during a global oceanographic expedition in the Coral Sea. It's just taken us this long to find it again. The faceless cusk isn't entirely faceless. After a closer look, scientists found tiny eyes buried under the skin on the underside of its head, near its mouth. With poor eyesight, it uses sensory organs in its jelly-like head to navigate its surroundings instead. Tissue samples from this strange swimmer are now being analyzed, but for now, much about this deep-sea oddity remains a mystery. The ocean never fails to amaze, and this faceless wonder is another reminder of just how much we've yet to uncover in the deep. Number 8. Deep-sea frilled shark. The frilled shark is one of the most primitive shark species on Earth, with a ruffled throat and a lizard-like, rounded head. This shark's lineage dates back around 99 million years, earning it the nickname living fossil. Its appearance is so unique that it looks nothing like the sharks we're used to seeing, making it a real oddball in the shark world. Typically growing to about 4 feet long, the frilled shark has a fascinating way of hunting. It coils and curves its body, using its rear fins for leverage to strike with incredible speed. Its wide jaws can open so far that it can swallow prey up to half its size in one bite. With 300 recurved teeth, it easily grabs and holds onto prey. Despite its fearsome appearance, the frilled shark's bite is relatively weak compared to other sharks. Since its discovery in the 1880s, the frilled shark has been spotted in over 20 countries, including Norway, New Zealand, both U.S. coasts, Japan, and Chile. While it's rarely seen, it's sometimes caught by fishermen and sold in fish markets, particularly in Japan. Though not a common catch, the frilled shark's unique characteristics make it a fascinating part of our planet's ocean history. Number 7. The anglerfish. The deep-sea anglerfish may look angry for a good reason. It's quite possibly one of the ugliest animals on the planet. Typically dark gray or brown, these fish have huge heads, enormous crescent-shaped mouths, and sharp, translucent teeth. But their most striking feature, seen only in females, is a dorsal spine that sticks out above their mouths like a fishing pole tipped with a glowing lure made of bioluminescent flesh. This built-in bait helps attract prey close enough to be snatched. Anglerfish are skilled hunters, using their lure to mimic living bait, and some species can even wiggle the lure to make it look more lifelike. They can open their mouths wide enough to swallow prey that's twice their size, using their sharp teeth like a cage to trap their food. Once prey is caught, the anglerfish doesn't let go. Most anglerfish are relatively small, often less than a foot long, though some can grow quite large. The species was first brought to scientific attention in 1833, when a female anglerfish was found on the shores of Greenland. These fish, with their ghoulish appearance and bioluminescent lures, are one of the most unusual creatures of the sunless deep sea. Number 6. Vampire Squid. Meet the vampire squid, one of the most bizarre creatures in the ocean. Despite its scary name, it's not a vampire, not a squid, and not even an octopus. In fact, it's so different from anything else that scientists have put it into its own special group. The vampire squid got its name because of its dark, spooky color and a cape-like flap on its body. If vampires were sea creatures, they might look a bit like this. Living at depths of 2,000 to 3,000 feet, the vampire squid is often called the sea creature from hell. It's a true monster of the abyss, thriving in an extreme underwater world. This makes the vampire squid an extremophile, which means it's adapted to survive in harsh conditions where most other creatures wouldn't last. But it's not just their deep-water habitat or creepy appearance that makes them unique. Unlike other cephalopods like squid or octopuses, which squirt ink or camouflage themselves to hide from danger, the vampire squid does something a bit different. When threatened, it can flip its cape inside out to reveal sharp spines on its arms. And if that doesn't scare off the threat, it has an ultimate defense: a cloud of glowing, sticky mucus. This sticky, glowing goo can blind or trap attackers, giving the vampire squid time to escape. So while it may look like something straight out of a horror movie, the vampire squid is actually a clever survivor in the deep, dark ocean. It might not be a vampire, but it sure has some creepy tricks up its sleeve. Number 5. Giant oarfish. You've just come face to face with the world's longest bony fish, the giant oarfish. Video footage of this rare deep-sea creature recently surfaced, and it's as incredible as you'd imagine. Giant oarfish don't show up alive very often, so catching one on camera is a big deal. These silver, ribbon-like fish can grow up to a jaw-dropping 110 feet long and weigh as much as 600 pounds. They usually hang out about 650 to 6,000 feet deep, but can dive as far as 3,280 feet. Their usual stomping grounds are the deep waters of the eastern Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. The origin of the name oarfish is a bit of a mystery, but their long, thin shape has earned them nicknames like ribbon fish. They're occasionally found washed ashore after storms or spotted floating near the surface when they're sick or dying. Because of this, many believe these majestic creatures are the source of ancient sea monster and sea serpent legends. Interestingly, some people think oarfish washing ashore might predict earthquakes. While there's no scientific proof, the idea adds to their mystique. Despite these rare sightings, Oarfish are thriving and aren't considered endangered. Whether it's their sheer size, their mysterious habits, or their connection to folklore, the giant oarfish is one of the ocean's most fascinating residents. If you're lucky enough to spot one, you're looking at a real-life legend. Number 4. Sarcastic fringehead. You might think a creature called the sarcastic fringehead sounds like a made-up insult, but it's real, and it totally fits the name. This fish isn't the weirdest ocean creature out there, but it sure stands out. The sarcastic fringehead is found in shallow waters, which makes it a little easier to spot than some of the deep-sea monsters we'll talk about later. These territorial little fighters usually make their homes in empty shells, abandoned burrows, or even discarded bottles and cans. Once they claim a spot, they defend it fiercely against any intruders. The sarcastic fringehead is known for its big mouth and tough attitude, especially the males. When two males cross paths, they show off their huge mouths in a competition to see who has the biggest one. It's a kind of who's tougher showdown where they puff up their mouths and press them against each other. Their mouths, when fully extended, can measure nearly the same size as their bodies, making for quite the dramatic display. This bizarre behavior has earned them comparisons to sumo wrestlers, as they engage in these mouthy battles without causing real harm. After a brief staring contest, the smaller fish backs down and leaves without any real fighting. These mouthy fish aren't about to start a brawl, but they sure know how to intimidate each other. As for what they eat, not much is known, but since they have such big mouths, researchers guess they probably feed on things like squid, eggs, and other small food. They often rely on ambush tactics, hiding in their shelters and lunging out to grab unsuspecting prey. It's not the scariest creature in the sea, but it sure knows how to make an impression with its attitude and those massive mouths. Number 3. Japanese spider crab. You might think the idea of eating fresh crab sounds great, but if you've never seen a Japanese spider crab, you might change your mind. These crabs look like something straight out of an old sci-fi movie, with their giant legs and small bodies. You can find them in the northwestern Pacific Ocean, usually at depths between 660 and 1,800 feet. What makes them so strange is their size. While their carapace, the hard shell, can grow up to 12 inches across, their legs can stretch up to 12 feet from claw to claw. The reason for this difference is that their claws continue to grow even when they reach adulthood. These crabs look like underwater spiders, which can be pretty unsettling, but don't let their appearance fool you. They're actually quite gentle. Despite looking like they could jump at you and attack, Japanese spider crabs are slow-moving and mostly spend their time walking along the seafloor. They can't swim, so those long legs help them move efficiently on the bottom of the ocean. As for their diet, these crabs mostly eat mollusks, algae, and small marine invertebrates, but they're also known to scavenge for dead and decaying matter on the ocean floor. So even though they might look like sea monsters, Japanese spider crabs are harmless and just going about their slow-paced lives. They may not be your first choice for dinner, but they sure are fascinating creatures. Number 2. Gulper eel. The gulper eel, also called the pelican or umbrella-mouth eel, is a creepy creature that lives in deep waters between 500 and 6,000 feet. While it might not be the largest creature in the deep sea, it definitely stands out because of its unsettling appearance. These eels can grow between 3 and 6 feet long, and they earn their name with their gigantic mouths. Gulper eels have a unique look, with tiny eyes, small pectoral fins, a whip-like tail, and that enormous mouth. They can stretch their mouths to incredible sizes to swallow prey whole. Surprisingly, their mouths are much larger than their stomachs, meaning they may catch prey too large to digest, which could potentially harm them. This extreme adaptation likely evolved to help them capitalize on rare feeding opportunities in the food-scarce depths. Instead of teeth, their jaws have small, curved structures that help trap slippery prey, like squid or small fish. The whip-like tail is not just for swimming. It houses a bioluminescent organ that glows to attract unsuspecting prey. This glowing tip can pulse or flicker, mimicking the movements of smaller creatures, making it an effective bait in the pitch-black ocean. Despite their slender bodies, they're not very agile. Instead of chasing after their food, they're believed to use the light at the tip of their tails as a lure. Once they attract prey, they quickly snap their mouth shut to catch it. It's a good thing that gulper eels don't grow larger than they do. If they were any bigger, it's hard to imagine what they might be able to swallow. They might even be able to take on an unsuspecting human. But for now, they remain one of the deep sea's strange and creepy creatures, using their odd features to survive in the dark depths of the ocean. Number 1. The Goblin Shark. The Goblin Shark is still shrouded in mystery, but we do know where it lives. Found in the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans, the Goblin Shark lurks at depths between 130 and 4,265 feet. This bizarre creature is definitely not known for its charm. It has flabby muscles, a soft skeleton, and thin, transparent skin. While it's not cute, some might say it's ugly cute in its own unique way. Its most notable feature is its long, flat snout, which is equipped with special organs that allow it to sense electric fields in dark depths. This adaptation helps it locate prey even in the pitch-black waters where sunlight cannot penetrate. Despite its sluggish appearance, the goblin shark is a stealthy predator, lurking in the shadows before striking. The snout also acts as a tool to probe the seafloor for hidden prey, such as buried crustaceans. But what really sets it apart is its jaw. It can extend its jaw to the length of its snout, enabling it to ambush prey with incredible speed. This jaw mechanism, called slingshot feeding, is one of the most unique adaptations in the animal kingdom. The jaw shoots forward at 16 feet per second, faster than most cobra snakes at full extension. This ability allows the goblin shark to catch fast-moving prey with precision and efficiency. The goblin shark's jaws make up almost 10% of its body. This is a serious bite from a shark that can grow to be over 10 feet long, and its razor-sharp teeth make it even more intimidating. The deep sea is a place of incredible wonder, and some seriously spooky creatures. From the crushing depths to the strange and monstrous beings that inhabit them, it's no surprise the ocean is both fascinating and terrifying. While we've only scratched the surface of what lies beneath, one thing is certain: the ocean still holds countless secrets. So, the next time you're by the water, remember there's an entirely different world beneath the surface, teeming with creatures we can barely imagine. See you in the next video.